Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. My guest, Jeff Mendelson. Here's the thing. I see, you know how the universe gives you what you need? If you're real clear on what you need, the universe puts it in front of you. And I will tell you that you are my third podcast in a row who specializes in the exact thing I'm working on. So I'm just going to do this episode for me and ask you, all right? I mean, it's so crazy how it's literally three people in a row who specialize in things I'm exactly working on. So I'm excited to share your story, but also a lot of your subject matter expertise with the audience. I think as you try to grow a business, scale a business, this is the key to so much of it. So much of it. So before we get into all the details, how about a little origin story, who you are and what you do?
Oh, my superhero origin story. Thank you so much.
I had to use the nomenclature.
Yeah, right. So my name is Jeff Mendelson. I have been a digital marketer for over 20 years now. And fun fact, 16 years ago, I got fired from my last job, making me certified unemployable at this point.
Woohoo!
Right? Yeah, right.
Right, totally.
And
We get it.
and what's interesting about all this is that at first I was like, who's going to support my Starbucks habit and how am I going to pay for these diapers?
Right.
Right. Because it was like, yeah, those were real concerns. And what happened was I was like, something like I can do that. And it started out with just one client.
Yeah.
With just one where I was doing some great work for her. She was getting hammered by her prior developer, right? And I came around and I'm like, look, you have these 30 sites. Like, let me do this for one low price for you every month, and then you won't be nickel and diming. She jumped on that, and I was like, yes, there's really something. There's something here, right?
That accidental entrepreneur. It's amazing what happens when you know how to do something and then you go help someone else by doing it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And something, this all started because way back when I wanted to be a real estate agent and a mortgage broker, right? Like everyone else in Florida, right? Because
it's part of the rules.
Yeah, it's part of the rules. 1 out of every 8 citizens in the state of Florida has a real estate license. So only 5% of those are actually active in it, but
the state loves collecting those annual fees. So
the state loves those fees. Yeah, we live off of those fees. So what happened was, like I thought I was going to do great doing that, right? Because, I was in sales. I knew a thing or two about a thing or two. And I just realized I had zero aptitude for this whatsoever. Right? Where it's like, I couldn't sell a mortgage to my brother. Right? And that was like the, here, give it to me. Here's the paperwork. Take my license, please. Right? And I just couldn't do it. And that's when I
have a new associate with a similar story who was very excited about what was going to be his amazing real estate career until he realized he hated houses, he hated sellers, and he hated buyers.
Yeah. And I just think of myself as, we just bought this house 2 years ago. I was just thinking of myself as a buyer, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to deal with that. Jeez, right. On the weekends and all that, yeah, pass. Yeah. But anyways, I made a great website. Right. So, then everyone's like, yeah, you really suck at real estate, but hey, can you do that website for me?
Pretty.
Yeah, this is really pretty. And that's really how it started, and at first, at first I was like, let's just talk about, like a website. And a website, when you're building it for somebody, when you're building a web presence for somebody, it's a big check, right? $5, $10, $15,000, whatever it is, right? It's one big check and then you walk away.
Right.
And I didn't want that for myself. I was just like, listen, the real money is in the recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I started doing website hosting. I started creating content. I started, running the ads for them. And then I could charge a monthly fee. Right. And that monthly fee was like, yeah, that's what I got hooked on. Right. Because and depending on how you model that, You could even, give, now we have great templates. We have great programs that allow us to create a web presence very, very quickly. You can almost give that away for free and then sell the services on top of it. So many different ways to slice this. I personally just went around, creating a digital marketing agency, even though we didn't really call it that back then, right? Oh, I do SEO, I do paid ads, I do social media, things like that. And what happened was it turned out to be something really interesting. I'd say about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I was really got into the how do I automate this stuff? Like, how do I automate, newsletters? How do I send out, client appreciation emails or surveys or things like that? And then that was yet another rabbit hole, right? Because then you go into the active campaign, you go into HubSpot, you go into Salesforce, and which one's the best? Which one can I afford? Things like that. And yeah, there's one now that's smoking them all, and that's High Level. So,
It's interesting. So it's in, and I have a white label version of High Level.
mhm.
But I have a question because you and I, when we met, we had, I think, 20 minutes on the calendar, and about 90 minutes later, we're both like, I'm hungry, right?
And we weren't even done.
We just had to cut it off. So I know that you're highly personable and interactive and relationship based, and you like people and talking to people. You know, how does a business owner who identifies themselves, because that's one of the things that I really believe, like how you see yourself drives everything, right? Because your brain is not going to let you go do something that's the antithesis of how you see yourself, for better or for worse. So how does I'm not talking about the fear-based reason for stopping, that's a whole different problem, but how does someone such as myself, who's so relationship-based and so interpersonal in my natural behavior, learn how to transfer that into what you do? Because it's such a part of what makes me successful. And I say me because, like I said, I'm working on some of this right now, but I know I'm not alone in that. And I think one of the things that prevents people from doing what they need to do with the type of work you do is a story in our heads that I can't do what I do in that way, if that makes sense.
So, first of all, I respectfully and wholeheartedly disagree with you that you
That's what
cannot
I
do
want you to disagree, because I
it.
know I need, right. I agree with you. I just don't know how to get over the bridge. How do we get
Sure.
over
So,
the
so,
bridge?
so first of all, automation is not a dirty word. Okay. And, how do you prove it? Like you go to your Facebook feed and there is a high degree of personalization. Do you think there's a little Facebook gremlin in there
Right.
thinking, how am I
I
gonna,
know what Erin
how am I
wants to
gonna,
see
yeah, I know what Aaron wants to see today.
today.
No, it's all algorithm, right?
Yeah.
It's all stuff. If here's a fun thing to do. Go to YouTube, look up 3 flat Earth videos, right? Then all of a sudden you'll get like
I
every
know.
flat Earth video
I
out of the
say this I mean, and it's so weird. Like, so personal version of this, I am 5 feet tall. And for most of my life, until I got older, I was 100 pounds soaking wet. And one of my best friends is plus size and 5'11". And she was sending me pictures of dresses she was going to buy to wear to a wedding. And it just, it made my pop-up ads hysterical for a while,
Mhm.
because right, Amazon lost track of exactly who it is that I am and didn't know what to show me for a while.
Yeah, so I mean that kind of stuff happens. Now, to directly answer your question, I'm sure that you put a lot of love and care into the emails that you send out, right? There's no shame and there's no harm in, writing like you talk,
Yeah, and
right?
I had to learn to do that. That was a curve.
Right. So that's a curve, right?
That was
And
a curve.
then so first of all, like you should be batching your content, right? You shouldn't be writing your emails. Let's just take newsletters. Newsletters is just an email blast out to your 1,000 clients, whatever it is, right? So when you do something like that, it's like, okay, you have the personalization, hi, and squiggly quotes, first name, things like that. And you just go and put in the content that you created. Now, what happened when you start taking that one step further, the automation happens when you can set up different types of triggers and events after what somebody did with that, right? So you could say, hey guys, I got a question for you. Are you do you prefer Facebook reviews or Google reviews, right? And you can have two buttons there, right? So in high level, it's really easy. Now you got trigger links,
Yeah.
right? So somebody who selects Google, right, will be recorded. You'll have an automation there that will tag them as they selected Google links. You can also have, automations where you sent someone an email, they didn't open it, right? So resend it again, hey, did you see this? Things
Mhm.
like that. These are all things we should be doing anyways. You should be following up, and you shouldn't be afraid of like, oh my God, this robot's doing it, doing it against my will. I mean, obviously you need to think this through, right? You should have a whiteboard, map it out, or a good sheet of paper, whatever it is. And also, you don't really need to have all these crazy if then statements going on, right? It should just be linear. It should just be that if somebody clicks on this, then go, tag them as that, move them to this column, create another opportunity for them, and then send them another email 3 days later, right? It should just be like that, just something linear. Don't go off, don't go wide, right? Because wide means that you have this trigger, that trigger, this trigger, that trigger, da, 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 and they all funnel into the same thing and then they disperse again. Don't do that, right? Have a specific trigger for, a specific case, right? And then create another automation that handles the second case. The second case meaning, the Facebook button,
And
right?
as I'm listening to you talk, I think one of the challenges that people have in doing this is the part that I work with them on. And I say, and I say this because I have this conversation so many times. They don't know who they're trying to reach. I
Ah,
did,
well,
right. Like I
then you
did,
have an identity problem,
right.
right?
And I did a live show a couple weeks ago, months ago, I don't know. And the way it came out of my mouth, it was like, yeah, that's the problem. Have you ever noticed that you've never talked to a highly, highly successful business owner who doesn't have an ideal client avatar?
Yeah,
Like,
that happens. It happens, not often, but you
right.
know,
Like, that's how you get successful is knowing who you're trying to talk to. And I think one of the things that stops people from being effective at the type of thing you're talking about is they're not real sure. They don't know enough about their clients to do what you're talking about.
or the flip side of that is that they think they know so much about their client that they couldn't possibly automate it. And then it's like, okay,
Yes.
so yeah, no, so I love that one. I love that one when it comes out, and I'll tell you why. Because then I asked them, like, okay, like, what does your admin do for you? The one that's physically typing out these emails. They're like, well, they're responding to every DM, they're responding to every email that comes in. All right, so would you say that this one person types out the same 5 or 10 things every day?
Right.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, why couldn't some of that be automated? Either as a snippet, either as a full blown, automated reply. Why are you paying that person? I don't care how cheap they are, right? Get someone for $4, get someone for $14, get someone for $24. That's not the point, right? You want them to work efficiently. And yeah, don't get me started on the virtual assistant route because that's another rabbit hole onto itself.
Right.
But
Well,
the point.
the way that I sum up that problem is people make the mistake of hiring what I call task rabbits instead of hiring for horsepower. And you're just,
Exactly.
right. You're replacing doing the work with managing the work. And only want people in my business who are driving everybody's driving. Pushing forward together. I don't need
You
somebody
don't
who
need a robot.
I don't need a robot, and I am the worst babysitter of adults known to man. So I just won't do it. Like I won't do it. So people hire because they're worried about spending and end up with this horrible expense when it could have been an amazing investment.
Exactly. That's why one of the things that, someone told me this a couple of years ago, and I'm really sticking to it. Don't hire a virtual assistant, hire a virtual specialist, right? Find
Right.
someone who knows social media so much better than I do that it was just,
Right.
or someone that knows writing so much better than I do. Please do that. Someone who knows audio editing so much better. I can do all these things on my own. I have an MBA, right? I think I'm a little bit educated here. I can do it, but is that the best use of my time?
Right. Or I say don't spend a lot of time to do a bad job it's something that someone else can spend a short amount of time doing a great job at.
Oh my God, that's so true. Because you know what happens is that I will spend 4 hours obsessing over trying to get the audio right when I'm editing a podcast, things like that. And then I just go and I really got clopped in the head with this because once I gave up on all of that audio editing, I was 4 or 5 hours into the project. Finally, I went to Fiverr and I found this sound engineer guy in England who was unemployed at the time. And he was just like, yeah, I'll set it up for you, $50. And the thing is that then I asked him a very critical question. I'm like, well, what tools do you use to do that? Right. So he listed off, he's like, well, I got Logic Pro and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plugins, and that's how I did it. So then I went back and researched all those plugins. Those plugins would have cost me $1,000 to get on my own.
Right. Right.
And he only charged me $50 to edit
And
the
and
episode.
and I will tell you, like, there's certain things where it doesn't matter as much, but I will tell you when I watch people DIY things that matter because they think they're good enough at it, and then you put their thing next to someone who's actually good at it, you can tell. It's so
Exactly.
you can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah. It'll either get over engineered or it'll get,
Just isn't good
or you,
enough.
right. Yeah. So there's several different ways that, to do it. Right. I agree. If you have superhero syndrome, go for it. Like, yeah, knock yourself out. Cause like I can figure out just about anything. Right. Is that the best use of my time? Probably not.
So if somebody, most of my listeners, most of my clients, they've got the newsletter thing, like they're doing some things. I'd love to hear your opinion on what are some less obvious or less commonly understood opportunities for automation and marketing. Like, what are you seeing that's actually kind of interesting?
First of all, text messaging.
Mm.
Right. So so emails get, I don't know, 7 open and reply rate, 15, 20 if you're amazing at it. Did you know that text messages get a 97% open rate?
You know what, yeah, I'm thinking about who texts me from a business perspective versus
But you open them all. You open them
yeah,
all.
yeah. I might not
So
click on the thing, but I definitely see them.
exactly. So that is, now you need to have a good list for that, right? You're not just going to go buy a bunch of cell
Right.
phone numbers, like that'll get you banned. But if you're already in the practice of collecting this information,
Right.
right? And so how do some companies use this well? I happen to live very close to an outlet mall. I got on the Polo list, right? And they send me just enough to keep it interesting. There's a restaurant that I like that, every 2 weeks they'll send some kind of special. Hey, come on back, things like that. It's
Hmm.
a short and sweet way to keep in touch with people, right?
Yes.
Now, if they were to be sending me 3, 4 times a week,
You'd
uh,
cancel it, right?
yeah, but and then that's easy. You just type stop and that's it, right? So you have this information, you have an idea of what it is that you want to say. You just have to think about whether it's appropriate to reach out for them or not. Now, how would this work for like a kitchen installer, right? Kitchen installer, well, first of all, they're probably working on a kitchen when you call them, right? So you can set up high level to do what's called missed call text back, right? So that if somebody calls in the number and you don't answer, right, then automatically it sends them a text back that says, hey, I'm kind of busy, can you press 1 to set up an appointment or press 2 to schedule,
That's
something.
huge. I
It
think
is.
that is absolutely huge because we all tell ourselves stories that have, completely not based on any fact except our own opinion. And if someone doesn't answer the phone or if someone's busy or if someone doesn't get back to us right away, and especially in the home services business, any technician business, to stop what you're doing in order to answer the phone, you just become massively inefficient, right? But to do that one step further, instead of just leaving a voicemail, but have that text, because 90% of people now are calling you from a cell phone, not a landline.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what's cool is that first of all, you can almost be rest assured that it is in fact a cell phone. So you can text them back. You're collecting more information like when they reply and interact with you, right? And also it just creates a much better service delivery, right?
Hmm.
And now all of this stuff you could manually do. Like if you're hammering away installing, you could just, cut and paste something into your phone, hey, I'm busy, I'll call you back later. But then, there's some serious FOMO going on, right? Because, you got 5 calls stacked up. Now you're going to call them back at 7 p.m. Listen, buddy, it's now, 3 in the afternoon, and I look for kitchen installers and I pick the first 4 people off of that list. So the first one I'm going to talk to
Right.
is going to have pole position for getting my business.
Totally.
It's as
Totally.
simple as that.
So in addition to not doing it, we're going to call that the obvious error. But in addition to the error people make of not embracing automation, what's a pitfall to avoid? Like if you were going to lessen someone's learning curve right now, what is a pitfall for them to avoid?
First, I would just say overthinking it,
Mm.
right? Don't overthink this, right? What is a missed call text back? I missed a call. I mean, your initial message should just be, hey, sorry, I missed your call. Can I call you back? Right now, if you want to get into automating with AI a proper conversation that, someone can ask, what are your hours? And it'll reply back. Okay. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. Right. But really what you want to take here are baby steps and build it out after that. Right. You just want something to happen to make a little efficiency in your business. Right. And you will probably think like, well, it only takes me 30 seconds to reply to that. Okay. How many, but how long did it take you to get back into your zone?
Right. It's that context switching problem, right? When we try to do two things at once, we lose 20% of our capacity to do anything. And now you're taking the 80% that's left, dividing among two things, and you realize you're not doing well at any of it. That's how a lot of mistakes are made. And
And really, who are we talking about here? We're talking about solopreneurs. We're talking about superhumans anyways, right? People that can, we can do everything, right? We can make it happen. We're not even talking about, 25-person business, 50-person business, things like that. We're really talking about individuals here and how they can make a difference in their lives. And how do you scale, right? How do you replicate? Like, why can I go to a Best Buy in Fort Lauderdale and a Best Buy in Denver and see the exact same products and the exact
well,
same service delivery? It's because someone scaled it.
and that predictability is a big deal. Being able to predict the experience someone's going to have, but also for the individual business owner, this is about how do you leverage your resources. And that's like the number one reason I see that people can't scale is they're so busy doing all the things. And so they can't get to they have to move from doer to owner, which is all about thinking, not doing, figuring out.
So, so there is a recovery group for people like that, right? Let's just be honest. We can make fun of these people all day long, right? But the fact of the matter is that like once you see the light, like once you automate that one thing,
Oh yeah.
then it's like wait a second, now that just
I
happens
can do
automatically.
less
I don't
work.
need to think about that anymore.
I mean, I'll give you a real life example that I'm in the middle of
Mhm.
creating that I'm very excited about getting out of my own way over automate. You got to get out of your own way on a few things. Number one, that it can be automated and still be very personal and very highly effective and very highly curated. And also, I a lot of us do a better job when we're not there to stop ourselves.
Imagine that.
Right. Like if the example I use for that is always when the new website went out with all my much more bold colors and harsh, more direct language. Thank God I was too busy to notice someone pressed the publish sign because I was very busy being worried about it, and someone else published it, and the response was fantastic. I would have, hemmed and hawed for days. And So right now, think of the difference. LinkedIn is a perfect example with Sales Navigator and all the tools you can attach to that. Do you want to spend 4 hours ciphering through and
I
connecting?
don't.
I don't. I can't do anything for 4 hours except sleep, right? Or do you want to create a system that can do all this for you? And then that way, the only people who you interact one-on-one with are the people who've showed interest in doing so.
That's really that's really the secret sauce, right? Is getting people to raise their hand and identify themselves as,
Right.
yes, I need help.
And it's not about, here's the other piece. It's not about pitch, pitch, pitch. I am not advocating in any way that you connect with somebody and then DM them your sales page. Like that is not a great way to do this. But there are really great ways to do this.
There are some great automations out there. If you know who you're talking to and what their motivations are, it
Mm-hmm.
makes the conversation so much easier. And let me tell you, it took me a while to really grasp that, right? Because as a digital marketing agency, I joke, I have 50 ways to take your money, right? There are 50 things that I can do to, to increase that retainer. And what I started to, I started playing with with a group of entrepreneurs that are real estate photographers,
Mm.
right? And what did I like about them? First of all, is that, these are people who are mostly working solo. Maybe they'll have like an admin, but like really that's about it. There are virtually no national players, not even regional players, in the space. And their target market, real estate agents, right? They are the easiest contacts to get.
Oh
They're
yeah,
the easiest.
it's very easy to find them.
Very easy to find them, right?
Very
And
easy to
they and
find them.
they'll
They
all
are
pick
not
up their
hiding.
phone. They
Right?
are not hiding.
They are not hiding.
And they want those phone calls, right? They may not want your message, but they want those phone calls, right? So they will pick up. They will listen to you. And if you have an offer that makes sense to them, they will call you back,
Mhm.
right? And if you can take, like that, synthesize that down to, listen, I'm just going to get you leads for your real estate photography business. That's it. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to deliver. You're the one that has to, have the great portfolio. You're the one that has to, figure out what extras to throw in order to close the business. Right. But do you really have time to go and email every real estate agent with, with your offer and follow up with them? Most do not. Right.
And I went through that as a speaker. And years ago when because real estate agents, that's in my background. So it was one of the groups that I was speaking to a lot. And there are 200 chapters of at least of the Women's Council of Realtors in the United States. And
Wow.
I've spoken at probably 25 to 30% of them, which is a lot.
Right.
And every year I would have to get on watch a movie and get on the computer and look up who is the new vice president coming in and how do you get their information. And now, we would reach out to talk about speakers. They would reply. We'd have tasks in our calendar to remind us when to send the next one. And it's amazing how much easier it is now using
You
AI
know,
to gather the information. And that way we're only spending our time with the people who are responding.
exactly. So something, let's go to a convention, right? What do I do now? I create a new home screen on my phone that has a big QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Really huge. You want my contact information? You want to keep in touch here? Scan this QR code on their phone, right? It'll bring them to a page where I just tell them, here, here's a blue button, click download my contact file or fill out this form to give me yours, right? And then I know exactly where they came from. I know
Yeah.
exactly what time. I know exactly how to follow up with them. Like if I'm at a podcast convention, like my
Tomorrow. Are
reply
you going
messages,
tomorrow? Tomorrow.
I'm not, I'm sitting
You're
this
cool.
one out.
I'm not either, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about what you're saying though is the information you're gathering because the way I see people do that wrong is with a LinkedIn code. Because
That's one way to do it.
I have 5,000 contacts in LinkedIn though. So if you show me a QR code that just sends me to your LinkedIn page and I click connect with you, do you think
You're
there is
forgotten about.
any, you're gone. You're in a list of 5,000 people. I'm not going to remember that.
Mhm.
And you're not going to remember it either. So all we've done is increased a vanity metric of how many people do you know?
You know, there are so many cool ways to do it, right? So instead of sending them, basically what you're talking about is sending them off-site, sending them off message, right?
Yeah.
Because the second you send them to Facebook, to YouTube, to LinkedIn, you didn't capture anything, right? You didn't capture any love there. Now, if you would have presented a form, that says, hey, put in your name, email, phone number, and how we met, that'll go into a special table right in your CRM. When you come home,
I
you'll
can just
see
pull it
you'll
up.
see the 35 people that you showed your phone to, and you're able to then have a great conversation. I mean, how did people do this 5 years ago, right? Take a selfie together, right? Remember that? Right? Or just try to, fast and furious, type it into your Crackberry
Or
to
right, or
type in all that information.
they have these services where you put it in the card and the card uploads it to your CRM. Yeah, but again, if you're just doing nothing more, when you talk about automation not done well, if you're doing nothing more than adding a name to the bottom of a list of names with no context and no way to remember, you're not really you're falling short of your opportunity.
Exactly. How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to remember to do it? I know I get frazzled at these conventions. You meet so many people. You're on such a high. You think that, oh yeah, I got all this great information. I can't wait to implement it. And then boom, you get home and it's like, who the hell was that person?
Right,
You
and
know,
you're
just
exhausted, right? And you've got 4 days of regular work
yeah.
waiting for you.
You,
Exactly. Exactly.
you go through these business cards, and like you try to be diligent about writing on the back who they were, but not everyone you did that. And then you got to go, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work to go back in and reprocess all that. So yeah, start small, and start with something that you can actually record the metric of, like, how many people did I capture
Mhm.
just walking around this convention.
I did that for event. I was having online events, and when I was out speaking, I would, there'd be like 150 people in the room, and I would just say, "Look, if you want to come to the event, you could go here, or I'm around. Come scan my QR code." And I would have that QR code on my phone, and literally, as I'm talking to one person, there'd be people. I would just hold my phone out. And so I'm still able to have the conversation and it's not really interrupting anything. And other people were just coming and scanning. And it
That's
was
exactly it.
amazing how well that worked. I was very
And
proud of myself.
yeah, and something, if you're manning a booth, right? Make sure that QR code is on the desk or is on the
Right.
thing. I've been to a chocolate shop now that just had, scan here to write us a Google review right at the cash register. Right. So,
Make it
so
easy, right? That's my big thing. Make it easy to be with you, to make it easy to do work with you, make it easy to, the easier you make it for other people, the more likely they are to engage in anything.
exactly. And think about what you can do with this, right? Is that if they scan a code, and, not everyone's going to rate you 5 stars, right? Let's be honest, right? Some people are going to be, oh, they
Some
only
people
did
just
four
don't do
stars.
that. Right. Some
Right.
people just don't do that. Right.
So, some of the things that I'm implementing for my clients is, how many stars would you like? I ask on my web page that I control, not on Google or Facebook. I don't send them there. And if they tap on 5 stars, then it gives them a link saying, "Hey, please post this on Google." If they tapped 4, 3, 2, or 1 stars, doesn't even show that link. Then it shows a form. Tell us how we can do better.
That right. I mean, how amazing is that?
So simple.
Love it.
So simple. And something, people are gonna, most people will tell you, like where you went wrong. I'll tell you what happened this weekend. I was in Denver. The hotel, it was a nice-ish hotel. It was a Courtyard by Marriott, right? And by
That's
the
kind
time
of a
we
big
figured,
deal.
kind of a big deal. Like we,
Kind of a
and
big deal.
it's like 10:30 at night. The
Okay.
thing is, so, of course we tried to work with management. They gave us another room, the whole 9 yards. 2 days later, guess what? Somebody broke into my car. Well, didn't break in. I didn't exactly lock it. So they went into my car, I should say. And they took my wife's earmuffs and her jacket. Right. And it's like, all right, so now, we go back to the hotel. It's like, guys, do you even have security here? Like, it was a nice-ish hotel. It wasn't a Motel 6 in somewhere in
Right.
rural, whatever. Right. And, of course, you can make a big deal about it. Oh, these guys suck. Or, it can be, first of all, it's a teaching moment for the hotel. Right. And it's an opportunity for them to make things right. Right. They ended up refunding us all of our points back plus,
Hmm.
right? And so that helped. They ended up, we got free breakfast and things like that. It wasn't exactly trying to get,
It's
scam
not
free
a
things
right
out
because
of
it's
them.
not about most people, contrary to what TikTok would have you believe, most people don't lose their minds when something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They're so giving people that opportunity to tell you how you could do better does not necessarily open the door to an assault. It's most of the time it's actually good information.
Exactly. So,
And some of
sometimes
the time is stuff that you
use it.
can't do anything about and you don't worry about it. Some people are just unhappy and that's it.
Exactly. So, I deal with that also with some clients. They got just this week, they got some 1-star reviews. One was from a completely unhinged former employee,
It's gonna
right? And
happen.
another one just
That is
put
where they
one star
usually
in.
come from.
Yeah. And you know what? The way I explain it is this, like you have a clinic out somewhere, right? And it's got 80 reviews. You have a 4.6, a 4.8, 4.9 thing. And then someone comes around and says, no, this clinic sucks. Do you really think
No
people are
one's
going to
gonna
look at
believe
that?
them.
Yeah,
Right.
no one's going to believe them. So it's like, just keep on,
Perspective.
just keep on moving forward.
Little
Like you still
perspective.
need these, right? Because you're competing with everyone else who's trying to get these reviews, right? But think about it. How are you going to automate it? Like, are you going to ask everyone before they leave, please review, please review, please review? Well, what if they sign up for your loyalty program? Then you can hound them afterwards, right? So there are so many different ways to do it, and it's not even intrusive, right? This isn't something
I
that.
think that's a big piece. I think, here in the Midwest, where we're all very worried about not being nice to each other, one of the things people worry about is that this is going to feel intrusive. And I don't, that just doesn't, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to. I tell people all the time, you're worried about being a pushy salesperson. Well, then just don't be a pushy salesperson. That's real easy. It's the same thing. You're worried about this being intrusive. Well, then don't be intrusive. There, problem solved, right? Like do it the right way. You're
Mhm.
worried about something that's not going to happen because you're not going to do it. And I see people let that stop them.
So going back to that outlet store analogy, right? So I still receive the text messages from Polo,
Mhm.
basically because, well, I like their clothes, and every text message you're always giving me 20 to 40%
Right. They're
off.
giving you coupons.
They're giving me coupons, so that's good,
Right.
right? And I signed up for the same thing with Nautica, right?
Hmm.
Well, Nautica is another brand, but
Right.
oh my God, 4 times a week. Like, and it was just like, hey, come back and buy something
Right.
else.
How many shirts do you think I need in a month? Right.
Exactly. So that one I stopped,
Yeah.
right? The pizza place that we like, it's once every 2 weeks, on and off, things like that. Yeah, it's not intrusive,
Yeah.
right? And and they're just building, and if I move out of the country and I don't want their text messages anymore, you just type stop.
Well, and here's the thing. When you do what you do, you're going to get data in the form of the response. Are people staying? Are they canceling? Use that information to do a better job. It's really just that simple.
It really is just that simple. Because, if you're sending out, you can then measure this, send out a 15% coupon for that pizza place, but only to the people that are on your loyalty program. And then count how many people came in
How
and
many people?
used it
Right.
in the past week. Hello. It's like, that's why you're paying for this,
Exactly.
you know?
So if people want to learn more about how you can help them, if they want to connect with you and continue this conversation, because we can keep talking about this, but at some point we have to
Exactly.
stop. I saw your dog get up and walk around. She gave up on you, but you never know. She might. What is the best way for them to reach out and get a hold of you?
Sure. It's my name, Jeff at jeffmendelson.com. The website is jeffmendelson.com, Mendelson. And really that's an overview of everything that I do. It's got some information about the podcast, about setting up email campaigns, lead generation, things like that. And also a podcast that I managed for a while.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me and going into detail about some ideas on what else is possible out there. So I'm excited to do some myself and make my life easier, right?
I
That's what the
love
whole
it.
point is. So thank you for your time and all of your insight.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.